For 5 days, I consumed 0 calories. There was no promised cognitive clarity, enlightenment, or surges of newfound energy. It was a bloody grind. But you know what? I'm going to do it again. The benefits of fasting are legion. Not only is it a reliable source for substantial weight loss, but it increases metabolism, leptin sensitivity, lowers insulin and blood pressure, manages type 2 diabetes, induces autophagy and intercellular cleansing, turns off the bad genes that promote inflammation, and incredibly, it can give your body's stem cells a complete overhaul. Why I did a 5-day fast? Well, specifically for the stem cell rejuvenation and high hopes of getting rid of my chronic shoulder pain. Several months ago, I had lunch with one of my 5 sisters, and during our chat, she mentioned that she had recently completed a 5-day water-only fast. And much to her surprise, the chronic shoulder pain that she had endured for the last year or so had disappeared, and she'd been pain-free for several months. Well, that caught my attention because I've had chronic shoulder pain for what seems like forever. Then after lunch, I had a genuinely serendipitous moment on my way home. See, I'd been listening to a podcaster interviewing Dr. Mindy Pals, a best-selling author and longtime advocate of fasting for health. When I picked up the podcast from where I had left off, she suddenly shared a story about her experience with a 5-day water fast. She said, the great example I always use on this one was I had an Achilles tendon injury and nothing was helping. So I threw a 5-day water fast at it, and on the 4th day, I felt this buzz in my Achilles tendon, and it was like, oh, I wonder what that is, and it stayed all the way through. I went 5 full days, and about the 5th and 6th day, so on the 6th day, I was entering food back in. All the pain had completely went away and it never came back. Hearing that, I was all in. I had been enduring shoulder pain for so long that I just accepted it as a cross to bear. Now, to be clear, I could still do most shoulder exercises, but there was always a degree of pain I had to push through, and the thought of being completely pain-free was all the incentive I needed. For more than 10 years, I've been a strict intermittent faster. I eat between 6 p.m. and bedtime, which is usually around 10 p.m. And other than that, I consume 0 calories. That means, and this is key to anyone thinking of doing a long-term fast, I am metabolically flexible, which means my body will effortlessly switch between burning glucose or ketones for fuel. Now, here's a side note. If someone is not metabolically flexible, any form of long-term fasting will be extraordinarily hard because your survival system will be on high alert without its regular feeding, and it will use all its powers to force you to eat. So for me, since I was quite comfortable going without food, I decided right then and there I would do a 5-day fast. More than a week had passed, and I was procrastinating. To be honest, I was scared to try because 5 days without a lick of food seemed pretty daunting. Admittedly, I was taking shelter in the infinite wisdom of Homer Simpson's fatherly advice to Bart. Son, never do today what you can put off till tomorrow. Well, my nagging shoulder pain finally trumped Homer's sage advice, and I admittedly decided to begin my fast that day. It was noon on December 5. I told Michelle, my wife, not to include me in her dinner plans that evening. Well, of course, she wanted to know the what, why, who, and what for, so I told her about my fasting plans, and although she gave me her full support, she also gave me her raised eyebrow look of, yeah, good luck with that. Well, besides my grand announcement of beginning my fast, it was just another day until about 6 or 7 p.m. when it got challenging. Michelle was cooking her dinner, and suddenly I felt different, left out, lonely even. I wasn't hungry. What I felt were those churning gut feelings, like the ones experienced after a longtime girlfriend tells you that she still really likes you, but only as a friend. Yeah, well, F you too. A little introspection and honesty made me realize I was just feeling sorry for myself. I was sulking because I couldn't eat. Well, I got through the first night and slept normally. Next morning was like a regular day. I felt the same as if I had eaten the previous evening. Then, sure as shit, when 6 o'clock rolled around, once again, I was overwhelmed with feelings of anxiety and missing out. Day 3, same as day 2. I woke up on day 3 and once again felt no different than if I had eaten dinner the night before. Many people say day 3 of a 5-day water fast is different. Hunger goes away and you start to experience extreme cognitive clarity. You also get a surge of energy and the whole world becomes perfectly peachy. Well, all that loveliness passed me by. Day 3 was just another day with me dreading the looming evening's anxiety. When I woke up on day 4, things were different. I had a mild headache that progressively worsened as the morning wore on. So I started researching fasting protocols to see if this was a common side effect, and it was. I was doing something drastically wrong. I was drinking an aquarium's worth of water every day, but I wasn't taking any salt to balance things out. I was suffering from hyponatremia. I had flushed too much sodium out of my blood, and headaches are a common symptom of low sodium and an imbalance in electrolyte levels. By the time I read that, it was about high noon, and I had had enough of this fasting stuff. So that was my first experience with long-term fasting. I managed 4 days, and no, it wasn't fun or euphoric. There was no rapturous cognition. It was a grind. But as it turns out, a grind worth the effort. About a week later, I noticed that my shoulder pain had been substantially reduced by probably 50%. And that was all the proof I needed to try another long-term fast in the near future. Michelle would be traveling for more than a week in mid-February, and I decided that would be a perfect time to give it another go. Well, days 1 through 4 were pretty much a carbon copy of my first experience, except on day 4, no headaches. Salt with my water was the solution, and this time I made it all the way to hour 120. The prevailing theory after ending a multi-day fast is that you should spend half the number of days you fasted to slowly reintroduce food into your system. You know, perhaps start with a cup of warm bone broth and an hour or so later conclude the first day with an avocado. What the hell? Are you kidding me? I had had virtual dreams of my first meal. So when 6 o'clock struck, I started off with my terminal weakness, a handful of those glorious mixed nuts from Costco. Pure, bloody, salty heaven. Next, I devoured a 4-egg omelet with grated cheese and a small bowl of beans, and following that, I had 3 BLTs on rye with a shitload of mayonnaise. Feeling contented after dinner, I put on my favorite movie, one that Michelle absolutely hates. I uncorked a bottle of wine and finally felt genuinely wonderful for the first time in 5 days. The results. Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, the benefits of long-term fasting are as long as your arm. In fact, it's almost stupid how good it is for your overall health. Now, it's only been 2 days after my fast, and incredibly, I'm feeling almost zero shoulder pain. Oh, and the unmentioned side benefit of my fast was the added bonus of shedding a couple of pounds of stubborn belly fat. What's the takeaway? Well, I would highly recommend to anyone who's achieved metabolic flexibility to try some degree of long-term fasting. The benefits are ridiculously good. And who knows what it might cure that ails you.